You did. The great thing about you is the level of experience you have going back over so many presidential cycles. Put that in your big brain here as I introduce two numbers to you, all right? Joe Biden's approval rating, on average, going into this election was 43%. That was at the nadir, I would argue, of the past 30 years for presidents in this cycle. And this is what we found in our Fox News voter analysis. Did your vote express support for Biden? A quarter said yes. Did you oppose Biden? 39% said yes. Was Biden a factor or not? Biden not a factor, a little more than a third at 35%. What does that tell you about last night?
Obviously, Biden was a factor with his ratings so underwater, with the economy and inflation really being the #1 issue. But, you know, this is what you have to be very careful about with polls. Polls are a panoply of questions, not just one. So if you were to zero in on Donald Trump's numbers, you would find Donald Trump was also at 43, 56, or 57 in your own poll.
Thereabouts.
Right? And so therefore voters who, to the extent they were caring about presidents, they were caring about both of these people. And I think that's pretty much what held this electorate pretty much outside of the United States of Florida, pretty much in check, because they didn't like Biden, they didn't like Trump, who really was the voice of the Republican Party and behind so many of the Republican candidates who had trouble last night, and so they stuck with where they were. And I think DeSantis was the exception because he broke through with real leadership, and also DeSantis and Kemp were, in a sense, independent of Trump. And I think that in those elections, the problems that people had with Biden really came through because Trump was not a factor.
So the House majority, Kevin McCarthy's office saying that they look like they're going to take the majority. So that does change, right? Because change things in Washington. The Republicans then take over the chairmanships of the committees. They can block things. They can try to send legislation to the president. If they have a Republican majority in the Senate, the president might decide to veto it. Based on your experience and maybe how different Biden is from President Clinton, what do you think Biden and his team will try to express today, or actually might do then in practice, if this is the reality that they're facing?
Well, look, this is what's so different about politics, is that you win by a little bit and it's a winner take all. Control the House or you don't. Now, in this situation, Bill Clinton said, I want to get reelected. I'm going to triangulate. I'm going to make deals. I'm going to show that I have a presidency that gets things done. I don't see Biden, who's now likely to keep his team, doing any of that. I think they may find some small things that they can cooperate with, but I think generally it's going to just be, let's roll to the next election.
You're suggesting this is an affirmation of his governing over the past 2 years.
I think that's the way they're going to come out and play it. I would be very surprised if they came out and said, we're sorry, the American people, we've led you astray, we're going to fix inflation, and we're going to do something about the border. No, they're going to say that everyone loses midterms. We really held pretty close to our majority. We're going to continue to push our message to the American people, and we're going to take it. And I think this stimulates Biden to run.
That may very well be. Was that last thing you said?
And then I think this definitely pushes Biden to run.
To run in 24.
Oh, absolutely. I think he believes he's the only person who can beat Donald Trump. Everybody who I speak to says he really wants to run. And unless he's restrained by investigations or health, he's running.
Okay, so you said, I'm sorry, Dana, this whole thing about investigations could very well happen because Kevin McCarthy could be the speaker or Steve Scalise, but it looks like Republicans at this moment will have control of the House. And there will be hearings and there will be investigations and there will be an opposing voice in government that has a majority in that case.
Well, I think either Joe Biden will be the nominee, or between investigations and health, if he can't be the nominee, he'll turn the presidency over to Vice President Harris. And you saw how well Hochul did in New York, right? Once Harris would get a chance to be the president. It's a little bit of a fantasy, I'll admit. But if you play the scenarios out right now, I think you're seeing Joe Biden, if he can, is going to dig his heels in. And even though only 40% of the Democratic electorate is saying they want him to be the Democratic nominee, he is going to want to be the Democratic nominee.
We're out of time, but answer Dana's question now.
Would Biden still want to run against, and would he win against DeSantis if that was the nominee?
If DeSantis does a knockdown, drag-out primary and beats Donald Trump, DeSantis would be virtually impossible to beat in the